For class. Class is back there. In front of the,
Oh, you did?
that's why we're always. And I try to think of that.
It's up here. Oh, there it is. It's easier when the groups of.
I'm looking at the wrong place. I'm ready.
Okay, when did you leave Wilmington?
Oh, it's 03, 04,
You've been over there since 04?
21. Yeah,
Since 04.
04.
04. How long was that?
That's 21 years.
Good morning. This man standing behind me is our speaker this morning. And this is his wife Lori, the beauty part of the family. And the daughter's not with us today.
It's not working.
They served
There it is.
in Wilmington as preachers, as a preaching family. And then 21 years ago, or maybe it's 22, he decided he needed to return to his roots, which he is the son of a missionary. I don't know where all his family served. I know he served in Pakistan or Pakistan. And so now they serve in Africa, in Zambia. And so he's going to tell us about it. We've been involved with them for 21 years now. And so he comes by, tries to come every year. Sometimes he doesn't have the time to come by. But we've been a part of his revenue train for the whole time that he's been doing the missionary work. So we like it. It's a work that is getting the gospel into people, but it's also training those men who go to the school how to produce a living for their family. He teaches them how to farm, how to take care of cattle, and a host of other things that they do in that part of Africa, and they preach the gospel. So that's all I have for him at this time. Maybe later I'll tell him.
Thanks, Ron. Time change. I came from Central Time. That was already getting us messed up. And we got up this morning and there were 3 different clocks with different times. All right. Well, I have a new watch and I set it before I went to bed for the right time. Well, the stupid thing adjusted itself. So I went 2 hours back. And then we thought, well, we're ready to go. I got up at 4 o'clock or something like that. I get up every morning at 4. And I've been up a long time, you know. I thought, Lori, I said, well, let's just go ahead and go. We'll go early. We get in the cars when I looked at the cell phone, you know, and because it had been recharging the cell phone, hadn't looked at it because I thought I got it right. Get in the car and suddenly I realized, we're an hour behind, another hour. So I had to make up I shouldn't tell you how many miles I made up, so we won't go there. Let me just say, so if I rushed in here and did say hi to folks, it seemed like I'm on steroids right now. Anyway, it's been 21 years, and the church here has been supporting us 22 years, actually, because we kind of started in 03.
We have supported him when he wasn't even working.
Yeah. Well, let's don't go there. Before I got there.
What we want to know now, is your watch right? Because we know what's going on.
It is right. I got it reset, okay? I reset it while I was driving. You don't want to know that either. So anyway, if you're not getting our newsletter, I would love for you to sign up. Lori put a sign-up table back there, by the door to sign up. We send it out by email or by regular mail, and they're different, so you might like to sign up for both of them. The email version, I can put more video and pictures and stuff in that, but would love for you to sign up for one of both of those, or just write your name on a piece of paper and give it to Lori or I. We'll add you to the mailing list. And that was. We've been in Zambia, as I said, for the past 21 years. And Lori and Karen, my daughter Karen, we took her over there when she was 16 and 21 years ago. And so she didn't want to go, but when she got there, now she won't leave. And so she is not only running Karen's Kids Ministry, which I'll tell you about in a second, but Karen is also now pretty much our chief administrator. So first thing I do when I get up at 4 o'clock is talk to Karen and then the other staff members by WhatsApp and know what's going on and deal with problems and issues and all that. So when I'm over here, Karen's there and we communicate and decisions are made and she executes it and gets it done. So she's become a very important part of our work in Zambia. We have 3 main ministries. The Bible College, of course, is our primary ministry, but I'm going to start by talking about the 2 so-called humanitarian ministries that we have. First of all is the Christian school, and that's the area that Lori focuses on. She's a school teacher with a master's in education from the University of North Carolina here. But she has really focused on developing a really good school that we have developed. Let me back up here, if it'll back up. Wanted to show you a picture there of Lacondo and his wife, who's also a teacher. Lacondo works with Lori, and he's the director of the school, and he is working on his master's in education too. But they're together, they have really developed a very good school that we have. Here in the last 2 years, we added 2 more classrooms for grades 8 and 9. We're adding grade 10 here shortly. We have a science lab. We have a computer lab. We have, I tell you what, I know I'm going to be away from you guys, but maybe you can, I can see what's up here instead of doing this constantly. Oh, there you go. There's a monitor. That really helps. So you got it. So we have just finished the skills lab. And the skills lab, because most of the jobs in Zambia are still manual, hands-on type jobs. A good education is good, but they really need some skills, some vocational skills. So we have built this vocational training center, and our students are getting some training in some skills that will equip them in order to get good jobs when they graduate. And we have finished early childhood center as well. And so that's just kind of an overview of our school there. We have also a meal program. And I forgot to mention our students. We have a really good school. We want to provide good academic and the spiritual component to our school. And academically, our 7th grade students last year took the National Comprehensive Test that everyone has to take every year before they can pass on. And our students scored in the top 10% of Zambia. So we have a really good school as well. We have a school meal program, and we feed all the children breakfast and lunch. Zambia is the most malnourished country in Africa, and so malnutrition is a real serious problem. And we realized these students coming were not eating breakfast before they came. They didn't have lunch to eat, and that's tough on a kid to go all day with not anything to eat. And so we started a meal program, and we saw a real response from these students. They just came alive. They started doing better even academically, playing at recess. They also started doing better academically, and they're getting sick less, missing less school days. So it really made a tremendous difference in the children in the school. We also the school also serves another purpose, and that is our Bible college students and their wives are able to come over into the primary school or into the Christian school, and they're able to learn how to work with children. Some of our Bible college students or their wives, when they go back to the village, can start a village school in their church or work with a village school as a teacher. But we especially want to teach our Bible college students and their wives how to work with children, because in Africa, churches don't do a whole lot with children. They don't have Sunday school. Youth ministry means adults who are unmarried. And in Africa, churches don't do very much at all with children under 18. And I think that's a great oversight. Very few churches, denominationally or otherwise, do not even have Sunday school programs. So we want to train our Bible college students and their wives how to work with children. And in Africa, in most African countries, it doesn't matter. They'll let you come over and teach Bible in your schools, because they don't have this thing about church and state like we have, where we kick God and the Bible out of schools. In Africa, they'll let you come in and teach. So there's a great opportunity for our students and their wives to work in the schools in their villages and raise up the next generation. And I think that is a real oversight in Africa. So we think that's a great opportunity. We want to train our students and their wives how to work with children in ministry. We then have a children's ministry we call Karen's Kids. This is a ministry that Karen started about 15 years ago, mainly just because she wanted to save the babies. We knew that children in Africa die. Half of them die before they reach adulthood. But when we started looking into the problem more in detail, we realized that most of these kids are dying in the first year or two of life. And the primary reason so many children are dying young is because something happens to the mother. The mother dies in childbirth or soon after, which is still very common in Africa, or the mother is too malnourished to nurse the child. And remember, Zambia is the most malnourished country in Africa. And it's not because we're starving in Zambia, it's because 85 to 90% of their diet is nothing but corn. And so they just don't get a lot of protein. There's a lot of vitamins they're not getting. That's because you're eating so much corn. There's so many other vitamins they're not getting. That's why Zambia is so malnourished, because they just eat nothing but corn, which they call maize. And so a lot of mothers are malnourished. They can't adequately nurse their children. And then we have 25%, no, actually it's now up to 33% of the mothers in Zambia now have HIV/AIDS. And they shouldn't nurse their children, because there's a real good chance they could pass the virus to the child, and the child die in the first 5 years of life from HIV/AIDS. But the problem in Zambia especially, and in most of Africa, is they don't have a substitute to mother nursing. They can't afford baby formula that costs $60 or more a month. They can't afford cows, because you got to be rich to have a lot of land or to buy feed for the cows. And milk's more expensive for that reason. So they just don't have an alternative to mother nursing. So if the mother is dead or unable to nurse that child's really in serious trouble of becoming very malnourished. And then here comes malaria or dysentery or something else, and that quickly kills these children in the first 2 or 3 years of life. And so there's a lot of things that Karen does that I don't have time to get into, a lot of little things. It's more comprehensive than this, but the 3 main things she does is provide baby formula to children for up to 2 years. She also provides medicine, sometimes pay for an operation for a child, and then she helps some children who have special needs, because Africa doesn't do anything for children who have special needs. So we don't know exactly how many children Karen has saved, because we never kept records on this, and it's hard to know how many would have died, if Karen hadn't helped them. But I'll guarantee she saved at least 500-600 babies in these 15 years. These babies that she helps, of course, they're healthier because they're getting that baby formula. They get sick less, and they're much less likely to die of some disease in Zambia. These babies also are able to stay with their families, which we think is very important instead of orphanages, because we have 50 million orphans in Africa, and you just can't build enough orphanages. They're too expensive to build and to fund, and they're usually not very well run either. So we want to keep the kids with the children, with the family. So that's what Karen does, is try to keep the babies with the families. But most of the mothers that Karen is helping, babies and mothers that Karen is helping, I should say most of the babies she's helping, are those who are staying with grandmothers, widowed grandmothers. Her children have died and left her some grandbabies, and she's widowed and living in a rural area, and it's a really bad situation. She can't adequately take care of these kids that she has. And then she helps a lot of teenage mothers. Rape is against the law in most of the world, but because it's on the books doesn't mean they do anything about it. Rape is very, very prolific in Africa, and the police don't do anything about it. And it's really hard for us in the Western world to understand that in most of the world, women do not have control of their bodies. It is against the law for a woman to take birth control without the permission of her husband. It is against the law for us to give birth control to a woman without the husband's permission. So, rape they don't do nothing about, but if we give birth control to a woman, they'll kick us out of the country. Figure that one out. So, anyway, so we got a lot of teenage girls, and we're talking 12, 13, 14 years old. Wrong place, wrong time, get pregnant, and you would think their families would understand because, it's so common this happens, but the parents really don't. Most of the time they'll kick the girl out of the home, blame her. We've been blaming women since Adam blamed Eve for eating the tree, And so they blame the girl, she's kicked out, she'll run to a grandmother or to aunt or uncle or something, and it's a very desperate situation. So Karen helps a lot of teenage girls with their babies. If you're interested in helping either with the Christian school or with Karen's Kids Children's Ministry, because I have people ask me they want to individually help children, this is a good way to help them. And there's some brochures we put back there in the back you can pick up if you're interested in doing that. Let me spend the rest of the time talking about the Bible College, because that is our primary ministry that we have. That's the area that I primarily focus on. Lori really focuses on the children's ministry with the school, and Karen with Karen's Kids, as well as administration. But the Bible College is our primary ministry, and we have a really nice campus now we call Daybreak. It's 50 acres, and we have a nice big auditorium that we can do big events and church events and seminars and lectureships. We have a second-year classroom and then a third-year classroom in our office building with our library. And then we have a classroom just for the women's program, because we teach the women a lot of different things, Bible and ministry, but also agriculture, sewing, healthcare, nutrition, food preservation, childcare, teaching, soap making, just all kinds of things. And the reason is we have found that if you want to disseminate information and innovation in Africa, tell the women. If you tell the men, they don't share. If I know something and you don't, I'm going to use it to make money, right? Why do I share with other guys? But women are in the business, and of course women share more than men anyway, but women are in the business trying to save their babies, their children, and they want to help each other. And so we've found if you want to disseminate information, tell the women. And so we feel that our training the wives of our students is very, very important to the ministry that the husbands will end up doing when they go back to the villages. We have 30 married student apartments. They're just simply 3 rooms, no indoor kitchen, running water, toilets, or anything. That's outside. And the reason is we don't want to increase their standard of living. Most all of our students are coming from the bush. We want them to go back to the bush, and we don't want to ruin them with city living. We do have a dorm that we've built recently for some of the unmarried students that we do have. But we really are trying to recruit married students. We have a really good Bible teaching staff now. One of the things, and Ron knows this very well, a missionary, when you go to the mission field, you need to work for the day that you're leaving. You need to prepare for your exit. Because when missionaries don't do that and they leave, everything falls apart and it disappears like that. So you got to work yourself out of a job. And I can tell you that I have worked myself out of a job. They don't need me in Africa anymore. Okay? They can do everything in Africa that needs to be done. We have these guys and 2 women have been with me now, I guess, near 10 years, and I've invested a lot of time training them. When I'm in Africa, I've spent most of my time, training the teachers who will teach the students. I also teach classes when I'm over there, but I really have wanted to develop the teachers. Dennis Sabello is our director. He's a very spiritual-minded man. I mean, really, really devoted to spiritual transformation that I'm going to talk about in a second. We also have an agriculture teacher, Francis, and I'll explain in a minute why we have a full-time agriculture teacher. But these teachers are doing a wonderful job. By the way, the one thing that I can't replace myself with is, I guess you would say, visiting churches, giving reports, writing newsletters, handling all the finances. And there's a lot of it, because our ministry grew so much, now the fundraising and reporting and visiting churches and all the administrative stuff now is a full-time job. So that's kind of, I've stepped back more to supporting what they're doing now in Zambia. It just flashed through a bunch of students that have graduated, but the students that we have graduated in the last 10 years are far better than the students we graduated the first 10 years when we were at Mapepe. And kind of the reason is it took us 8-10 years to figure out what we really needed to do and then to figure out how to do it. So when we moved to our new campus in 2015, 10 years ago, to Daybreak Campus, we made some major changes to our training program. We totally changed the whole way we were training students. We went from 2-year to a 3-year training program, and we said we want to recruit married students. At the old campus, it was mostly either guys there without their wives or single guys, because we had dorms. We didn't have married student apartments. So when we moved to our new campus, I built 30 married student apartments, and it's only an afterthought that later I built a dorm for some single students. So we want 75% of our students to be married. Their wives have to come. If the wife doesn't come, you can't come to our school, because we really believe it's important to train both the husband and wife for ministry. The biggest change we made 10 years ago is we set that our number one priority now is spiritual transformation, because that is what Africa needs more than anything else. They got plenty of leaders, but it doesn't mean that the leaders of churches are spiritual leaders. They're leaders, but not spiritual leaders. And their ethics are much in question with leaders across Africa, including the denominations as well. So we figured that our number one priority is spiritual transformation, and then we had to figure out, well, how do you do that? So how do you develop a training program to facilitate spiritual transformation? And so this is something that I have spent more time working on than anything in my life, and that is, how do you develop a program to address, to facilitate the development of the spiritual life and character of the students. And what I came quickly to realize is that a classroom school is not going to get the job done, because I did that for several years. Because a lot of the Bible colleges that we have in Africa, including denominations, are just like taking Free Hardeman or Sunset and just plop it over in Africa. And I have seen the exact same curriculum even being taught that was taught in the American school. Classes that don't even need in Africa are being taught. And ministry classes that are more geared for America than Africa ministry. And so I quickly realized that if you just teach a lot of information, and very good information, it's good, but just teaching information in a classroom and they pass all the classes and they get a diploma and out the door they go, that doesn't mean that they have developed spiritually. They just got a lot of Bible knowledge, but their life and character is often very, very not what it ought to be. So what we really need to do is focus on developing the spiritual life and character of the students. So how do you do that? Because our mission statement for the last 10 years is that we're there to train and develop self-supporting spiritual leaders who are equipped for holistic rural ministry. There are 3 parts to that. First of all, we want them to be self-supporting. Africa cannot afford full-time preachers. Africa cannot do that. And they really should not be on American support. That's very bad. I could talk for hours on that one and give you a lot of examples why don't do that. It ruins them. They need to be self-supporting. And we want to equip them to do holistic ministry, ministering both to the spiritual and the physical needs of people. Because in Africa, there's so much suffering, you can't ignore people's physical lives. You've got to also try to help and minister to people's suffering that you see in Africa. But most importantly, in our mission statement, by far, and I want to emphasize this, is the bottom line, and what I am really looking for is I want to develop spiritual leaders. Now, we're not a preacher training school, okay? Because that starts leaning into the idea of professional clergy that are paid. No, most of our students are all going to preach. That's not the issue. We want them to be spiritual leaders for the churches. So our priority is spiritual transformation, and then the question is how do you do that? So it took a lot of time, and I spent a lot of time trying to develop a training program that's going to develop the student's spiritual life and character. And I don't have time. I have a whole sermon. In fact, I could teach a semester or 2 on this subject. But these are 8 things that we have put into our training program that I think that are essential to developing the life and character of our students. We also, as I said, want our students to be able to be self-supporting in ministry. That's part of our mission statement, as I said a second ago. And the way we're teaching them to be self-supporting is through agriculture. So when our students come, we give them a plot of land, because we have 50 acres. We give them a plot of land and immediately start teaching them how to do basic farming, how to dig raised beds with composting and crop rotation and different things they can grow, different kinds of vegetables they can grow in Zambia. And we teach them especially the use of drip irrigation, because in Zambia it only rains 4 or 5 months of the year. 7 or 8 months of the year, it doesn't rain a drop, not a drop. It's very dry. But you have one growing season. But the thing is, in Zambia, you can grow food year-round because the temperature doesn't change all that much. So if you have water, you can grow food year-round. But the problem in Zambia is they don't have running water. People have to walk 3 or 4 or 5 miles to get their water every day. But if you can get enough water to fill 3 or 4 of these buckets, you can grow more than enough vegetables for your family and even have some to sell in the marketplace and make some pretty good money selling fresh vegetables in the dry season. Now, when our students come, we feed our freshman students when they come for about 3 months until they get their gardens up and going. Once their gardens start producing, I stopped feeding them, because I learned if you want the students to be self-supporting when they leave, they got to be self-supporting for the 3 years that they're at our school. Because I used to feed them and teach them agriculture, and they graduate and nobody was doing it. So I said, well, I'll take care of that. I took away the food and now they learn for 3 years how to be self-supporting when they're with us. And now all our students, they can support themselves in agriculture. And they are. They're doing very well. Some are becoming well off with the agriculture that we have taught them. We also are teaching them how to raise chickens. We just finished building our new piggery. It's a nice big building, and we've got pigs, and they're now starting to give birth. And we this past week, I don't know, we had 30 piglets born. And before it's over, we're going to fill that building with, what do they say, something like, it'll end up being like 300 piglets and pigs, and I don't know, we should be making some money from it, we'll see. But anyway, that's a new venture, but we had to do it because it got to be that our students couldn't earn enough money from selling vegetables in the marketplace. Oversupply, not enough money that people have to buy vegetables in Zambia. So we had to move into something else that would generate some money for our students. So we're teaching them how to raise pigs. And when they go home and start some piggeries, they can really, really make some money. We also, as I said, want to train our students in holistic ministry, ministering both to the physical and the spiritual needs of people. But the way you teach people to do ministry, I want to emphasize this, and especially in Africa, and I think it's true here, and I bet Ron will agree with me. The best way you teach people how to do ministry is by doing it. Practical, real-life experience. The real problem, I think, now Sunset does better than anybody else I know, but one of my big things about the way we train ministers in our country is they teach them in a classroom a bunch of theory, and then guys like me get out there to do ministry and we don't know what we're doing. And I was such an idiot that I went back to school and got a doctor's degree in ministry thinking they could still teach me something about ministry. That's another subject. I learned that if you want to teach people how to do ministry, you got to get them out there doing it. And if you want them to be evangelists when they leave, they got to be evangelists when they're going to school. And Sunset does a better job of anybody out there in teaching. I think it's half the missionaries that are overseas are Sunset graduates. Yeah. So anyway, enough on that. So we want our students to get practical training. So every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, our students are going off campus. They're going into surrounding villages, and they go by bicycle if it's far away, because we have some the students can take out and get there. But most of the time they walk, and they'll go 2 or 3 hours to get out there, maybe spend the night Saturday night. And we teach them, you begin by serving. Don't go out there and just suddenly start preaching at people. Go out there and start building relationships. I'm going to say more about this in the sermon, but we want our students to go out there and begin by serving. So you find a widow whose house is leaking and needs rethatching, you rethatch her roof. A man is sick, he can't plant, tend to, or harvest his crops, you help him in his farming. You find someone is sick, you pray with them. You walk 5 miles and buy medicine for them. A guy's got a broken bicycle, you help him fix it. Just whatever you can do, you get out there and start serving people. And then they start realizing that you are truly the people of Jesus. And because a lot of African villages, when you go there, they call us Satanists. They don't know us, they're afraid of us. What are you doing here? But when you get out there and you start just ministering to people and building those relationships, then they accept you and welcome and start trusting you. And then that will open up the door to start having good Bible studies with people and able to bring them to Christ. And I want to give you now some examples of the practical training that our students are involved in right this past year. Our students, actually this is a few years ago, our students went and started a new church in Shimabala Township. It's about a township that's 5 miles from us, and there was nothing hardly there about 5-6 years ago. And then suddenly the government built a toll booth there to take up money, and of course all the corruption in Africa, wherever they're taking up money, there's a lot of money to be spent because of corruption. And so a little town sprung up around the toll booth. You know, there's money. It doesn't get to the government, but it gets spent there. And our students realized, hey, there's a town that's sprung up here. There ought to be a church there. And so our students, on their own initiative, which excited me because I didn't have anything to do it, and the teachers didn't even suggest it. It was just great that what really impressed me is our students, on their own, decided to go start a church in Shimabala. And they did. And so they began with kind of a makeshift little building with tent and some iron sheets, and eventually they got growing, and the little church started renting a little building there in Shimabala, and then they got land, and now they're in the process of building a building. And what our students are doing now, some of our students every Sunday, they're going to help with the worship services on Sunday to strengthen, encourage the congregation, and to preach. And then on Wednesdays and Wednesdays, they're going Wednesday afternoon and visiting and going out into the town and setting up Bible studies and teaching people. And so the church there in Shimabala is growing. We've had baptisms. This woman was baptized about a week or so ago. And so that church is growing, and it's all something the students are doing. This year the students have planted a new church in Kabwanza. They've been going out there door to door, meaning building relationships with people, and then they set up Bible studies, and people have been baptized. The community is now, Dennis tells me that the response has been overwhelming, and the students are engaging in community service. There was 2 ladies, the rains are coming here this month, and so there was 2 old women, widowed women there in the village, and their house needed rethatching. And so the students rethatched a roof. And if you go on our Facebook page, I got a little video I put on there of our students rethatching that woman's house this past week. So the students have decided that their goal now is that they want to start a new church somewhere in walking distance or bicycle distance of our campus every year. That's their goal. And what excites me is the students have decided that. Not I or the teachers didn't suggest it. The students on their own said, hey, let's start a new church every year as a goal. So they've already, in fact, picked another village, and now they're starting to visit there and starting to build relationships with another village where they're going to go. We have a prison ministry, and here about a month ago we had 14 men that were baptized at the prison. Zambians love to sing. In fact, all Africans, they love to sing. And so our students keep forming these little choruses, and they go out to churches on Sunday and they sing. And we have church events that go on, and workshops and lectureships that go on with the churches all over Zambia. And we'll send one of our teachers to do recruiting, and we'll send the chorus with him, one of them, and they'll go out and sing for a church, and that helps us in recruiting. I guess we're taking a little, what do you call it? Taking an idea from our Christian colleges, because our Christian colleges do that as well. Our students are also visiting a hospice in Chilanga, which is full of people who are dying, and they are involved with that. So our students are engaged in a lot of what you would call spiritual ministry, and they're learning by doing it. Now I'm telling you, when our students graduate, I tell our teachers, we want to rewrite the DNA of our students so that when they go home, they cannot not do evangelism. And that's the idea. If they do it enough when they're with us, it'll just become part of who they are. And we're seeing that now with our students who are graduating. We also are training our students to do physical, ministering to the needs of people. And so we teach our students agriculture not only so they can support themselves, but they go back to the village and they can teach people in the village how to raise vegetables in the dry season. We're teaching them how to be a school teacher and how to work with children, because they're learning, I already mentioned this, they're learning by coming over into our Christian school and getting practical experience working with children in our school. We're also teaching them how to work with vulnerable children and orphans. They're learning from Karen's kids how to do that. We're teaching them basic medicine. This is something Lori does. She's into all kinds of natural remedies, and I don't know, she reads all these books, and she loves natural remedies and teaches the students class where there is no doctor. In other words, there's all kinds of things you can do when people are sick. using natural remedies that are available in Zambia, and especially preventive medicine. There's a lot of things people can do that can help people have better health in the village, like getting rid of standing water where mosquitoes breed and malaria, you know. And we do a lot with marriage and the family, and I don't have time to talk about that, but marriages in Africa are really in trouble because they've gone from arranged marriages, where parents picked who you marry. Those were stable. They didn't have a whole lot of expectations. You know, people living for survival. But now they've been influenced by Hollywood and, you know, Coca-Cola and everything else, and now they want love and romance. Now their expectations are way up here, and they get married thinking they're going to have what you have in the movies. But the problem is for you to have intimate and love relationships, you got to learn some relational skills that Africans haven't learned. Because men still treat their wife like they're a slave. I mean, you ought to hear the way men order their wives around. And if they don't do what you want, you just beat them. I was at a wedding and heard the parents of the bride tell the son-in-law, if our daughter doesn't do what she's supposed to, you just beat her. Just common thing. Well, that doesn't create love and romance in marriage, you know. So we got to do a lot of teaching people about how to love one another in a marriage. And that's biblical, very biblical. Right out of the Bible you teach that. So we're training our students how to do holistic ministry. And that's, of course, part of our mission statement. So my point is that what we're doing in Zambia is a whole lot more than just classroom teaching. Man, if all we did was just have a classroom and teach, boy, that'd be so easy. Boy, that'd be so easy. But that doesn't get the job done, not in Africa. And that's another subject. I don't think it works here either. So I think we need to change the way we're training ministers in our own country, for that matter. There are other ministries, and I really don't have time to get into them. We have an optical ministry that Lori does. This year we had a real problem with power. We got down to having 2 hours of power last year. Now it's down to 30 minutes a day. At midnight it comes on. Nobody needs it then. So we had to convert to solar power, and it cost us a lot of money and put us in a real financial bind this past year. But we got it installed. We're now operating on solar power. We also had water problems, and we had to drill another big industrial water pump well. They call them boreholes. And we hit water at 70 meters, and they went all the way to 130 meters. So we hit the mother lode. We got plenty of water now. God really blessed us. So we've dealt with those problems. This year, the third year in a row that the youth of Zambia, youth means unmarried adults. The third year in a row that the youth of Zambia have come to our campus to do their youth conference. We had 505 in attendance, and 3 people were baptized during that 2 or 3 days. We've also had our second lectureship this past August, and we celebrated our 10th anniversary at Daybreak. We've been there 10 years. We had a celebration for that. Our students, how well are they doing? I got 3 or 4 minutes, so I'll finish when I run out of time. People ask me, how are your students doing after they graduate? So I'll run through these. So Lazarus, 2019 graduate, working out in the Eastern Province, doing a great job out there. He supports himself through his agriculture, like all our students. I don't need to keep repeating that. He's self-supporting in his gardening. Francis, 2018 graduate. He's planted 3 churches over in the Eastern Province, near Malawi. Crispin, 2020 graduate. He is working for a church down in Southern Province. They have about 100 members. That church was barely existing when he went there, but he's been there about 4 years, and the church has grown. And he sent me a picture that he says they've grown up to over 100 members. He supports himself through chickens and rabbits and other such things. King Soko, 2020 graduate, working for a church in the Eastern Province, supports himself through his agriculture. He writes and says, much thanks to the donor for the godly support that they rendered me who want to serve God and win the lost. I am who I am today because God used you to support Daybreak Bible College. May God abundantly continue to bless the donors so that they can bless others. Moffat, 2020 graduate working for a church in a very remote part of Zambia. I mean, this is really in the sticks. I know all of Africa is in the sticks, but this is really way out there. And up against the Malawi border, very poor part of Zambia. He supports himself through his agriculture. He says, I never thought that he would, that he never thought he would become a minister for God when he started at Daybreak, but he says he became a totally transformed person at Daybreak. That's the thing I want to hear our students talk about, transformation. So I became a totally transformed person at Daybreak and wants to do the same for others by helping them to know who God is and His mission. Meshach, 2020 graduate from Northern Province, but right now he's working for a church down in Mazabuka, doing a great ministry there, training the members in the church how to do agriculture. In fact, this was their church garden right beside the church where he's training people in the village as well as in the church. That church is growing and they've started a new building program. He writes and says, I am no longer the same Meshach people used to know before I attended Daybreak, but a transformed person. There's that word again. I have learned the love of God and how to love others. Roderick, 2020 graduate. Up until about a year ago, he was teaching in a Bible college up in the Northern Province, involved in a prison ministry, preaching on the radio program. He's one of our most capable graduates. Now, a year ago, he went down to Swaziland, Stanwa, they've changed their name, down in South Africa, basically. And he's going to a Bible college, and when he graduates there with a BA in Bible, he's going to come back and be one of our teachers at Daybreak. Doubt, 2021 graduate. He's from the Southern Province, working with a church down there. He told me that the church there was almost dying. That's his home church. He's very poor, and he came to Daybreak, and he didn't have money to go home for 3 years. Well, he said when he went back home, the church was basically dead. There was only 2 or 3 people showed up on Sunday morning. So he started a disciple-making program. The church is growing, and now they have started a building program as well. Maybe one more. Martin Kasimbi, 2020 graduate, working with a church down in Southern Province, but recently he moved up to the Copper Belt where we have very few churches of Christ, and he's working with one of our other graduates from 2018, Paul and Jovu. He is working up in the Copper Belt, doing a lot of work with single adults, unmarried adults. Patrick Lungu, 2020 graduate, involved in a lot of ministries, he does a lot of campaigning. Patrick Lungu, 2020 graduate. Anyway, I've run out of time. Oberti planted a church down in Livingston, which is where Victoria Falls is located. Lucas Bonda started a new church in the Eastern Province. I'm out of time, so I'll stop. Thank you all for helping support this work in Zambia. We couldn't do it without you guys. In fact, you guys started at the very beginning, and you know that helped us launch in 20 years of doing this. So thank the church so much for the help y'all have given us these 21 years.
I didn't say it all, but you said good.
Amen.